got the Aaron Pico implores Don Davis to release him. And then I saw a response. I think I also put it into the news chat there by Don Davis.
Oh, was that a response? Hold on, let me pull
Yeah,
that.
he had a response there basically saying that the contracts are like any other MMA contract where we have the right to match.
But would they?
There it is. I think they would.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, I'm being honest. I think they'd be stupid not to. You've got to keep what talent is there that can inspire and draw people into your company, and Aaron Pico is one of them. And I think they know that. I think they know that. The problem is when you've got an athlete saying, I want to go over here. That's tough. It's tough, when you're Don Davis, and I'm sure it's bothering him some, but you can't sit there and look at it in I gotta make friends. Scott Coker was one of the best I've ever seen at saying, hey, you don't want to be here, no problem, you can go. And just letting it be. But that's not an easy thing to do. It's not. And sometimes you got to look at what's best for your company. I'm thinking the way I look at it is you got to have stars. And Aaron Pico, although you can take a look at his record and it's going to be, I think 13-4 is what he is right now. The 4 losses. I mean, his last loss was to Jeremy Kennedy because his shoulder popped out. And he went through the whole round, and I watched the worst job. No offense to Brandon Gibson, but the worst job of trying to put a shoulder back I've ever seen. It was painful. I mean, and he put up with every bit of it, but he is so talented now, and he is just coming into his own. He's not a boy anymore. He's a man, and he's a 28-year-old man. So he's a young man. He's got a good, let's say 8 to 10 years of his career left, and he's a star. Yeah. He's the kind of guy you want to be representing your brand. And I don't think they can let him go, man. I just don't.
Yeah, let me give you the read on this. So Aaron Pico goes, UFC is where I want to go. I want to fight for them. They're the biggest organization in the world. They have the best fighters. They have the most well-known fighters. But I'm just waiting on that. And to be completely honest with you, the only one that really holding it up, the only one that's really holding it up and won't give me my full release is Don Davis. He won't do it for reasons I have no idea. Don Davis comes off and says, love Aaron Pico, rising star fighter and great person. To be clear, PFL is not holding him back. Pico has free agent, can sign today with the UFC, and then PFL can decide whether to match the offer. That is standard MMA contract Pico signed and how MMA industry works for everyone. There is some truth there what Don Davis said.
Yeah.
But look,
there is.
Look, when you have a fighter who basically is saying that he wants to be released, and I agree with you, Scott Coker was the best at letting guys go. You don't want to be here, I don't want you here. But there are a lot of fighters that left and then didn't work out for them wherever they went. They wanted to come back, and don't expect that door to open the other way.
No, that door's not going to open. But I look at this and it's like there are ways. Let's just be honest. You know who Aaron Pico's management is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know who his management is. They're smart enough to come up with ways with the UFC that the PFL can't physically match it. When you're going, T for T and dotting of the I's, they can't match it. But they have to. The UFC would really have to want him, and I don't know if they want him that bad.
I know that they do want him that bad.
They want him, but I don't know if they want him that bad.
I don't know if they want him, because they're going to have to find
creative ways through pay-per-view and things like that.
They're going to have to offer things that they wouldn't
guarantee him a certain amount that.
Well, they're going to have to offer him things that they wouldn't offer to fighters coming over from any other organization.
Right. That's my whole point.
Look, let's also be honest, is that he'd be a great addition. And I said this already a couple months ago. When the PFL started having problems, which they've had problems since they took over with the Bellator fighters, and they started asking for their releases, the UFC is they're not gonna spend a ton of money. Maybe they will on Pico,
Yeah.
but they're going to hand pick. But once they start spending too much money on one fighter and then maybe the next, then it's going to make it more difficult for them to sign more of the talent that they kind of are eyeing, but won't be able to get because like I already spent this much money on these guys and these guys and these guys. I know they have the money to burn.
I was going to say
they do. And John,
they're not hurting in the money fucking factor.
Let's be honest. They could use a lot of the guys from here to at least spice up the division a little bit.
Well, let's be honest. Take a look at the 145-pound division. They're losing a lot of talent out of the 145.
Yeah.
Right now, we used to talk, sit there and talk and say, well, right now, and when you're being honest, we're saying the bantamweights and the featherweights tended to be the most stacked divisions there were. And the UFC's featherweight division is, losing guys like Brian Ortega and losing, the champion in Ilia Topuria and losing these guys in Max Holloway.
They're all going up.
Exactly. And so you need to have that guy that can step in and you can put him against anyone, even right now. Mm-hmm. And he's going to perform and he's going to be someone the fans are going to love because he's not just a wrestler. He's got fucking beautiful stand-up. He's got heavy hands. He's got submissions now. The man's got the entire game down based upon going and learning and becoming a student of the game through Coach Greg Jackson. He is a phenomenal fighter now.
Yeah, he's attached himself to guys like when John Jones was there, Greg Jackson's or whatever. He was attached himself to them, like just picking his brain. And John Jones has said a lot of great things about Aaron Pico and just how he wants to learn. He's asking question after question. He's like, that's what you want to see from the young and up and coming fighters. And Aaron Pico is that guy. Look, the one thing about Aaron Pico, not one, but multiple things. Extremely marketable because of his background.
Absolutely.
Okay? Golden Gloves boxer, obviously Olympic caliber wrestler, all of those things. On top of that, though, extremely marketable in terms of that he speaks well. He understands the game. He's very polite. He's very considerate. He understands how to socialize amongst the industry. And everyone that's ever crossed paths with him loves him.
Yep.
Absolutely just a great kid, comes from a great family. And, but when I look at Don Davis, I think to myself, do you want to die on this hill? Because look, when you start having 1 and 2, when you have fighters like this that are saying, hey, I just want my release, that's when it becomes a problem, John, because now other fighters are like, I'm never fucking signing with that show. Like you've got fighters that are leaving one now and saying that type of stuff. And now fighters are like, I'm not going over there to fucking let my career die.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. When you got a fighter like an Aaron Pico, who I just said all these great things about him, and you're having problems with him. And it's not really a problem. It's just like, look, I don't want to be here. And I'm trying to do it as politely as possible. In his comments, he's like, look, I don't have a problem. I like the PFL. He's like, but I want to go to the UFC. I've done everything I can. I don't want to sign with Bellator. Who I signed with that helped build my career is no longer there.
That's it.
Scott Coker's not there. Rich Chow's not there. Mike Hogan is there. I don't know how much say Mike Hogan is having these days, but it just comes down to like no one that I was working with that brought me on and made it feel like home. They're no longer there. So this is not where I want to be anymore. I want to challenge myself. And when your fighter that you have under contract is saying the things that he said, basically about like, hey, I want to fight in the biggest organization. I want to fight where the best fighters are. That should tell you right there, like, look, I can't salvage this. And if I force you to stay here, you can expect whatever the media says, whatever. Like if he speaks his mind, which I don't think Aaron Pico will. He's a very, he will be very, he'll be very professional about it.
He'll be selective in what he says.
Yes. He's a young, smart young man that will be professional in how he handles it, even if he doesn't like it.
Okay, but be honest here. Okay, you're Don Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Do you let him go?
Yes, I do.
Wow.
Absolutely, I let him go. Let me ask you. Here's the problem that Don Davis is having, John. He's having a problem because he doesn't know how to build talent. Scott, this is all Scott Coker's talent. This is all Mike Hogan's talent and Rich Chow's talent.
Bellator talent.
They signed these guys. They brought these guys in. That's his problem that he's stuck in. He doesn't know enough about the sport to build talent. He doesn't know who to bring in. I just saw he signed Jake Hadley. I think Jake Hadley and then
Jake Hadley and Romanov.
Yeah, and a Russian guy. Yeah, look, good signings.
Moldova.
Yeah, but good signings. But these guys were built up. AJ McKee was built up. Aaron Pico was built up. Johnny Eblin was built up. I mean, like guys were built up. Patchy Mix built up in Bellator. you don't even have weight classes for those two guys. And then you have this guy who's a stud, comes with a great background, but they were all built up by Scott Coker, and those guys all are asking for their release. I got to be honest, you got to let them go. Yeah, you got to let them go. They don't want to be there. And the ones that you can keep, I would keep, and you're going to have to build your structure around that. Got to figure it out. Some guys are going to want to stay, John, because they're going to want to take a crack at that $500,000. And
Sure,
they're going to want to, like, look, if all those guys leave, shit, go ahead. This might be easier money.
Better chance for me.
Yeah, better chance for me.
But it's not better for the PFL.
It's absolutely not. But it could end up being worse, though. That's the problem, John, is if you keep them, it could be worse. Remember the whole thing with Eddie Alvarez when he was trying to sue Bellator and there was that big problem? Scott Coker came in. He's like, look, Eddie, I'd love to have you. I'd love to keep you. But if you want to go, then go ahead and go. And Eddie's like, look, Coker, I appreciate it, man, but I think it's time for me to part ways. We've just been through too much in terms of with the promotion. He's like, I understand, and just let him go.
Exactly.
And that's that. It was painful. I know I had plenty of conversations with Scott Coker. It's like, should I fight and keep him? I'm like, I probably wouldn't. I go, and also too, I was like, you have Michael Chandler. He's marketable, speaks well, good looking kid. And then I had talked about the Will Brooks kid. Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like, hey, he's beating Michael Chandler. I go, but you have that rivalry, kind of like what you had with me and Gilbert. I go, then you throw me in the mix with Patricky. I go, I think you're going to have something there. So let Eddie go. And that's exactly what he did, and it was like I'm not saying that I had any say on how he did that. Like, I'm just simply saying we had talked about it. It was my division. He's like, what do you think of these guys? And I gave my honest opinion. I was like, hey man, Eddie, you've got to let those guys go, because it brings the company down. I think with Aaron Pico, you let him go.
Okay. Well, we'll see. It's going to be interesting to find out.
This episode is brought to you by BetUS. Make sure you guys YouTube 150 for the promo code. Also, Element, use the link in the descriptions down below. Any product you buy from there, they will send you a bonus package of product if you use our link down below. Element's amazing, man. I love it. And I want to say thank you, man. Thank you guys so much for continuing to support us.